Welcome to Stories with Brisco and Bradshaw. I would be Bradshaw, and that would be the WWE Hall of Famer, Oklahoma's favorite son, Mr. Gerald Briscoe. And we have got a WWE Hall of Famer as our guest. When they talk about the greatest managers of all time, this man is on every single list. WrestleMania I to WrestleMania IX. He's out there multiple times on every single event. He is the mouth of the South, Mr. Jimmy Hart. Jimmy, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, guys, man. I love you guys. If I had a tag team now, y'all would be it, and our name would be the U-Haul Brothers.
Yeah, man, it's always a pleasure to see you, my friend. I've been a fan of yours since probably about the time John was born. You know, when you were with the Gentrys coming out with the rock and roll music. You know, I was so honored and privileged to meet you in Memphis at that time. You were actually Jack and I's manager a couple.
Well, a quick story here.
We thought we were meeting a rock and roll star, you know.
No, Jerry Lawler goes, look, I want you to go to the airport. Tonight you're going to be managing the Briscoe brothers. I went, oh, great, this is good. So I go pick them up. They said, hey, buddy, how you doing? I said, two things for us. Yes, sir. We'd like a 6-pack of beer the time the matches are over. Yes, sir, got it. And he said, make sure Lawler puts us on early because we got to make room service. I said, you got it, baby.
So Jerry, you never wanted to be part of the Gentrys because Lawler wanted to be part of the Gentrys, I think.
Well, Lawler, you know, his singing voice is not the quality of Jimmy's is, of course, and that's the reason he invited Jimmy to come along and sing background, so he'd make Lawler's voice sound a hell of a lot better than what it really is.
Hey, be careful what you say. Jerry might hear this. I don't want to get another broken jaw. For real. You know what?
Tell us about that broken jaw. I mean, that's a great story to start out with, you know.
Well, what happened is Jerry had broken his leg playing football on a Sunday afternoon. And at the time, I was just kind of managing Jerry, standing behind him, just going, right, King, you got it, King. You're the man, King. That was basically it. Well, what happened? Jerry was playing football on a Sunday before our Monday show, and he broke his leg on all the newscasts and everything. You know, breaking news, Jerry Lawler breaks leg. I mean, it was everywhere in Memphis locally. So Jerry had called me and said, look, Jimmy, he said, we could be in a major mess if it's true. And I said, yeah, it was true. He goes, were you playing? I said, no, because he said, you've been playing ball, you'd have been fired too. And I said, I wasn't playing football. I was sitting there watching TV. He goes, well, look, we don't know how this is going to work out. We've never had a territory without Lawler even being the hottest heel or the hottest babyface, either one. And he said, we're going to have to put a rocket on you and make sure that you can carry this load for us. It scared me to death. So what happened? We went to Louisville, Kentucky. Dave Brown, Lance Russell, Bill Dundee was there, myself, and we kind of went over what we were going to say this first Monday, with me kind of being a major part of the show. I mean, it's Saturday, excuse me. So I go up there and we go over this interview about what I'm going to say, and I was a nervous wreck, I'll tell you that. And we get to the show on Saturday, and they go, well, look, time for Jimmy Hart to come out now. Jimmy, Lance Russell goes, look, Jerry Lawler, whether you hate him, whether you love him, this is his confidant, Jimmy Hart. Jimmy, can you give us some details on Jerry Lawler's accident? And I said, Jerry who? And the audience right away went, ooh. And then I said, look, what do you do when a racehorse breaks his leg? You shoot him. He's no use to Jimmy Hart anymore. Lawler's in the Baptist hospital watching this as we speak now. So, Jerry, eat your heart out, baby, because this is the new reign that we're going to have here in Memphis. Today, I'm crowning the brand new king of professional wrestling. It's either going to be Precious Paul Ellering, who I was managing at the time. It's going to be Handsome Jimmy Valiant, who I was managing at the time. And I believe it was the Iron Sheik, who I was managing at the time. King Kong Bundy, Joe LeDuc, or some of those. It's a little vague. So I brought them all out, and I crowned Paul Ellering the king of wrestling. When I did that, we got Dundee in the ring, and we were hitting him with straps and straps and straps. All of us were. And Handsome Jimmy, I said, Handsome Jimmy, come out and get your some, baby. Come on. Handsome runs out. Of course, you know what happened. He took the strap from me and started beating all of us. So that team, Dundee and Jimmy Valiant up together against two of my men, whichever one it was going to be, whether it was going to be me and Paul Ellering and Bundy, or me, Paul Ellering, and the Iron Sheik in all the cities. And it really worked for about 4 months. You know, we did great crowds off of it until we could get Lawler back almost a year later.
A lot of people don't realize that Paul Ellering was quite the wrestler as well. He was a big jacked up guy. He's competed in the Iditarod. He's a world-class athlete. And a lot of people don't know that because so many people just remember him from being with the Road Warriors.
Well, Paul's great. What we did, we bleached his hair blonde and we turned him around down there because he had the muscles. But when you're a muscle guy and you're really tough, you really don't get a lot of mileage out of that. So we made him more of a muscle guy, but cheated a little bit, begged off, got in the corner. Oh, please don't hit me. When the guy looked at the audience, should we hit him or not? Then he did his little sucker shot and then took over with that. But we drew good money with him, but I love being with Paul. Paul, I got to tell you the story. My home was there. And I said, Paul, you want to stay with me? He goes, no, I'm going to sleep in my van right out front of your house. I'm going to plug my electricity into your, electricity thing. And I'll cook out here and eat out here. But he was always welcome to stay there. But I love Paul. Paul was so great.
Paul was fantastic. Jimmy, though, that's we started with a wrestling story, but what I really find fascinating is you're probably one of the few people left that actually toured with Dick Clark. You were in high school and you had a Billboard top 10 record. Walk us through that Gentry stage of your life and how that kind of transferred you over to getting your jaw broke by the King.
Yeah, because Jimmy, I do want to come back to this because the King was not too happy about the promo you cut. So we'll get back to it in a minute, but we're gonna shelve that for a second.
Well, what happened? I was at Treadwell High School. Jerry Lawler also went to Treadwell High School. He went into wrestling. I went into music. This is a story we can talk about later. But what happened is we had a band together called the Gentrys. And we got out of last period. We put the band together so we could get out of study hall to go practice every week, right? Because we entered a talent contest that was a local thing that was in Memphis every year at the fairgrounds. So if you joined and if you won the talent contest, you got to go to Miami Beach, Florida, and appear at the Jackie Gleason Theater. And the winner of that would be on a show called Ted Mack's Original and Amateur Hour, which was really like American Idol now. So lucky us, we win the first show there, we win the second show, we win the third contest. So we won. So they sent us down to Miami Beach, Florida to appear at the Jackie Gleason Theater. We filmed a nationwide show called Ted Mack's Original and Amateur Hour. So we won. It took 3 weeks to find the winners out. We won the first one. We went, oh my God. Came back to Memphis. Man, we were local heroes. Everywhere we went, set out little crowds in the YMCAs and all the Goldsmiths and all the clothing stores. We play all those shows like that. And so, man, we were like the Beatles then. We didn't know who the Beatles were, right? So then that took place. So we went back down again. We won the second time. A month later, they bring us back down to Jackie Gleason Theater. We won the second time. 3 weeks later, they called us, you won by landslide. Oh my gosh, this is great. Now, in the meantime, we met a guy by the name of George Klein. George Klein, if you look in the books, is Elvis Presley, one of his best friends at the time. So George Klein said, look, a friend of mine just came into town, and he said he's opening a studio called American Recording Studio. So he said, if y'all go over there and cut a record, a demo, I'll put you on my talent party, which was a local show, kind of like American Bandstand, but locally. So we went over, we cut Time Is On My Side by the Rolling Stone. We went on, they videoed us, we did the song on there, which was great. So then we came back and Chips goes, look, he said, I'd like to cut a record on y'all. No big long-term thing. We'll press 5,000 copies and put it out. And if it goes, great. And if it don't, then I'll just eat it. I said, okay, great. So we went in and we cut a B-side, but on the other side was called Keep On Dancing. So I'll cut to the chase on this. So locally, the stations every morning would play 10 of the local hits live on the radio, right? And the kids from the high schools would call in. So all of a sudden, Keep On Dancing was getting 4,000 or 5,000 phone calls every week on them playing the record. So he got a hold of MGM Records out of New York. They flew in, they met with us and then heard the song. They said, well, look, this might be a fluke because y'all are from Memphis. He said, what we'll do, we're going to release this record in Nashville, Tennessee, see if it sells, and we'll release it in Knoxville, Tennessee. I said, okay. So they released it both places. All of a sudden, it was going crazy, 5,000 or 6,000 copies in every city. So they signed a record deal for us and they put it out nationwide. So then one of our first gigs was touring with Dick Clark. So Dick Clark got a hold of us and we were on there with the Young Rascals, the Shangri-Las, Joe Tex, Mitch Ryder, the Detroit Wheels. And that was our tour that traveled around for like a month, doing all these Dick Clark tours on buses, promoting their records, our records, and do good crowds too. So that's how it all got started with Dick Clark. And then, we had 4 different albums out. We had a lot of different singles, but that was our biggest one. It didn't sell 1 million right off the bat. It got up to number 4, but then over the years to come, it wound up selling over 1 million because of, being on the charts for like 52 weeks.
How old were you then, Jimmy?
Oh my God. Well, we just got out of high school. I think I was like 18 or 19.
But you toured some while you were still in high school, right?
Oh God, yeah. While we were in high school, we did a lot of the hops, without having a hit record. We went to Jacksonville, Florida, and Daytona Beach, and Missouri towns, Mississippi, wherever the record's being played, we went there. But that's what happened to me for wrestling. I always loved the wrestling so much. A quick story. I first knew about the wrestling. My Uncle JB, who lived in Jackson, Mississippi, he came up to Memphis, and every summer I'd get to go spend 2 weeks with him. Well, we went to see professional wrestling down there. And that's when I fell in love with it. It was just awesome. And when I got in the band, I'd always, if we went to Georgia, back with the Dick Clark tours, I'd get up early in the morning and watch Florida Championship Wrestling. If we went to the Carolinas, it was watching Ric Flair and them. So every time we'd get Texas, I watched all this. I just would sit up while the band slept in different rooms. I would sit and watch my wrestling. I just loved it, And so when Jerry Lawler called me later on to do stuff with him in the music, it was just a dream come true for me.
What was it like, Jimmy, being in high school and being a music star? I guess you were making pretty good money at the time, especially nobody else in high school, I'm sure, was making anything other than maybe bagging groceries or working a little bit somewhere else. But how was it being a music star, being in high school?
It was unbelievable. I don't think we realized so much of it at the time. What happened was, we'd go to class and everything. And of course, thank God, all the girls, would be, kind of around all of us, which was great. And, we had a lot of privileges done. If we needed out of study hall, Mr. Mabry, our principal back then, would let us out of study hall for it. And I remember one time he wasn't going to give us our diploma. He said, "Look, if y'all boys don't cut your hair, we ain't going to put you on that stage to get the diploma." And Larry Raspberry, our leader of our group, he goes, "Well, Mr. Mabry, we're on stage all the time anyhow, so you can just send our diploma to us in the mail." And I went, "Oh my God!" But that was the truth. So we got to pull our hair back a little bit because at the time the Beatles were real popular, and the way we did our hair was kind of like the Beatles, So it was pretty cool back then, really. But I don't think I realized so much was happening until you get a little bit older in life. Then you realize that. And you see, I played high school football before that for the Treadwell Eagles. I was a wingback, and I was at the time. I didn't play my senior year because I quit to do the band. But what I did is I was 7th in the city, like I said, on pass receiving, like 23 yards a carry. And I still have the clipping because I know a lot of people say if Jimmy Hart's lips are moving, he's lying. But I still have the clipping. I still have one of my programs that showed me playing first string. And so that's one of my prized possessions I have, on my wall.
Well, that's something I didn't know, man. You get breaking news right here on Stories with Brisco and Bradshaw. Jimmy Hart was all Memphis, and Memphis is known for great football players too. Coming out of their school system there, and the Memphis Tigers there. But your musical background, you just didn't wake up one day. Your mom wrote a hit song for one of the most famous, Red Foley, right? For one of the most famous singers during that generation.
Well, you were close. It was Eddie Arnold.
Eddie Arnold.
Yeah, Eddie Arnold. Yeah, but we met Red Foley a couple of times when he'd have the Ozark Jubilee coming through town back then. And my mother said, "Can my boy sing?" And they got me up there singing through some kind of thing. And I was about 12, 13-year-old back then. And she curled my hair and I sang 16 tons. And we got to meet Elvis on that show, believe it or not. Elvis was there in the back. And I remember Elvis came up to my mother and goes, "I've got a pair of cufflinks like those earrings." I went, "Oh," but it wasn't a big thrill to me because I didn't realize how big Elvis was going to be later on, and was big then too. But Tom Parker is the one who managed Eddie Arnold back then and Elvis. So Tom Parker's the one, he's the one that got my mother the record deal, and Tom Parker did. So it was all kind of crazy, the musical background for her and that. And it was so funny. My mother's record, "Enclosed One Broken Heart," got to be number 4, and my Gentrys song got to be number 4 on Billboard.
Your mother Your mother wrote several songs. Was she a musician also? Did she also play and sing?
Well, you know, she just kind of tinkered at it. But, you know, after my daddy left us, you know, back when I was very, very young, they moved to Alabama. She didn't want me to grow up in Alabama with all the moonshine and stuff, because that's how they made the living, being truthful. And I realized that later on in life but what happened was, so we moved to Memphis. We had a little one-room thing with a bathroom, little kitchenette and everything. And so she slept in the little bed thing we had there, and I slept on the floor. We didn't even have a couch, if you want to be truthful about it. But we had the little blankets on the floor and the pillows on the floor. So that's why we really knew it. We didn't have a lot happening in our life, money-wise or anything. And so for me to get my clothes and stuff, I had to work at school. Talking about grocery store, you were right. When the football practice was over, I went to work at Pick Pack grocery store, packing groceries and selling them, and you know, not selling, but packing them and taking them out to the car and everything. So I'd work that till 9 o'clock at night and do the cleanup thing. And I did it so good, they made me bottle boy, and I got to do all the bottles and everything. So then I did so good at it, they made me stocker. So I got to make a little bit more money, made me stocker, you know, all the cans and everything, stock and everything. So that's how we did it. And then what was so funny, I still love wrestling so much. I knew they had wrestling at the old Ellis Auditorium. So I'd walk about, I guess, maybe 6.5 miles every night when it was safe to walk somewhere. So every Monday I would walk to the Ellis Auditorium. And back in that day, Sputnik Monroe and Billy Wicks were having the big fights for the Cadillac. And so I'd go and I'd stand outside the door, and they'd come up, Mr. Coffee would, and go, you sell popcorn, you'll sell Coke. So I always got to be the Coke guy. So if I sold my 5 trays of Cokes a night, my limit at 24 a case, I think I made 25 cents a tray for selling them. So I'd make a $1.50, right? So I'd get my $1.50, but I get to watch the main event. So I always hustled everything doing that. So I'd get to watch the main event with the Von Brauner's and Al Spider Galento and Sputnik and Billy Wicks and Tojo and all them. So I just had always loved the wrestling. I've never really had a plan for my life. I didn't plan anything for music, didn't plan anything for wrestling or anything. It's just all kind of fallen into place. So I've been blessed.
Were you making money in high school? You talk about working at the grocery store.
Well, with a band,
having a lot at home.
Yeah, well, I worked that when I was playing
music.
Football. Yeah, right. When I got the music, we made pretty good on the music. We'd play locally before we got exposure on Ted Mack. But, you know, we do all the sock hops like T. Walker Lewis, YMCA, and a lot of the clothing stores. And so there were 7 of us back then. The original group had 7. Then when we went on the road, it went down to 6. One of our guys left to be a doctor, which became a good doctor, Jimmy Johnson. So we left, and but we were doing good money. You know, we're making, you know, $400 or $500 a week just locally by doing this, working on Friday or Saturday, you know, and which was good back then. So, you know, shit, we used to go to Crystal, man. Let me tell you what, for 6 cents, Crystal, 6 cents back there, man. So I'd fill up on my Crystals and my little 1 slice of lemon pie and my Coca-Cola and my French fries, and I was living in heaven, man.
Jimmy, that had to be the coolest time, because Memphis was the hub of everything music-wise. It was a hub of soul music, it was a whole country. I mean, he had some of the greatest people in the history of music were going through there at the time.
Well, Isaac Hayes played on our first album. He didn't have any hits back then, but Shaft and everything. The horn players were a group called the Barkays, who later on played on every hit that came out of Memphis, soul, commercial, everything. And so we didn't realize all that back in the day, but that's what finally it wound up, how big stars they became. So like I said, I got to meet this stuff with Jerry Lee Lewis. I never met Carl Perkins, who I always liked his stuff. Got to meet Elvis twice. A friend of mine named Marty Lacker, if you look at the Memphis books, Marty Lacker, George Klein were part of that Memphis Mafia, is what they called them. But they went to high school with Elvis. And so one day, later on, after our Gentrys, and we didn't have that on that label anymore, we joined the label of Capitol Records. So, excuse me. So on Capitol Records, Marty Lacker got me at the Gentrys a 1-record deal on that. So we went over, and he goes, "Look, before we go to the do the recording, I want to go with you." He said, "Well, I got to go buy Elvis." I said, "Okay." So I thought I was just going to sit in the car. So we drove up to Elvis, went through the gate. Uncle Fester out there. "Hey, Uncle Fester." We go up to the gate. I sit in the car. He goes, "Come on in." I went, "Okay." We went in to the house. He got the maid that worked for him. "Hey, tell, I forget her name." He goes, tell him Marty's here." So we waited there for about 10 minutes in his house. And on the right side, there was a little dining room, and on the left side, the little kitchen, or vice versa. And the steps came right down. So we stood right there waiting for him because Marty had something to give to him, some paperwork. So Elvis comes down. He had his shades on, believe that or not. And he had his a long robe, you know, because I guess he just got up. He came down and goes, "Hey, Marty, where y'all going?" Marty goes, "Elvis, we're going to cut a record on Jimmy." He goes, "What do you got for me?" He goes, "Here's this paperwork." You know, gave him the paper. He goes, "Well, Marty, call me when you get out. Good luck on your thing." I said, "Okay." And that was meet Elvis. The next time I got to meet Elvis was so sad because I got to meet him when he was in the coffin. You know, I was one of the first 50 people through line. George Klein, through my contact with him, got me one of the first 50 people to see Elvis in the casket, which was very sad. But I could still picture it now. I remember his hands crossed, and he had that big TCB ring on his hand. I'll never will forget that.
Wow. And the name the Gentrys was named after a condom, right?
Well, here's what happened. Boy, y'all know everything. Damn.
Great
what happened? What happened?
It could have been the Trojans.
Oh my God, right. Hey, but that's very good. Hey, here's what happened. We were called the Gents when we first started, but the record label said Gents didn't sound good. You know, sounds very British, you know. He said, "Why don't y'all come up with another name?" So I was using the restroom at a service station on the way to one of our gigs. And I go there and I looked in the thing and I went, "The Gentrys." And I went, "Hold it." So I put a quarter in, I put it in the thing, pulled it out, came back and showed the man. I said, look, here's a condom called the Gentrys. And so I don't know if we all decided or what happened, but somehow it got turned into the Gentrys. So that's how it worked. It was crazy. I know I've had a crazy.
Jimmy, you didn't push the extra large button on that machine, did you?
Hey, for me, if I was going to live in T90 small, trust me. Hey, look, this is not beer. This is what Hulk sends me every month. I get about 15 cases of water. It was for my Christmas present. I guess he forgot to take it off the list, so I'm still getting it. It's called Mountain Valley Water, so it's not liquor. I want y'all to know that. Here it is.
Hey, Jimmy, you've never drank or done drugs, anything, right?
No, I was able to fit in without doing that. I never.
Wait a minute. You were in rock and roll and wrestling. you never developed a vice.
No, my mother made me promise 3 things. She said, "Jimmy Ray, please, for me." I said, "What, Mom?" She said, "Never drink, never do drugs or smoke, and never, for God's sakes, buy or get on a motorcycle." So I kept all 3 of those, but I never drank, never smoked. We never had wine or whiskey in the house or nothing, and she wasn't a smoker. But even with the band, you know, if we were around different people that did the marijuana or whatever else, you know, I never got around it. I might have got contact high sometime, didn't realize it, or, you know, or maybe did realize it, but I've never drank or anything. I've always felt like if people love you, I want to accept you, they're going to accept you for what you are. So I've always been, and everybody knows that. Nobody put pressure on me. "Oh, come on, do this." Or, you know, I was never left out of anything happening. That's just the way I've always been. I don't go out preaching it all the time. I don't put a big T-shirt on and say, "Stay off drugs," or, you know, or "We hate school," or whatever else, you know. So it's all good.
Which is unusual because Lawler's the same.
Yes.
Both from Memphis, both went to the same high school. Lawler's always been the same, just never cared to be around booze, even be around it, or drugs or anything else.
Jerry's great. You know, I was with him this weekend, of course, stayed at his house, but we were talking about how we first met. When he called me, when I got off one of our tours, he called me and said, "Look, Jimmy, we went to high school together. I don't know if you know me." I said, "Oh, I know you from wrestling." He said, "I know you from music." And so he said, "I want you to help me with a wrestling album, if you will." And he said, "I'll pay you for doing it." I said, "No, I'll do it for nothing. I love watching wrestling." So we went over the first session we had. The guys there, the band members, passed by a big wine bottle. And I went, "Oh, I don't do wine." And Lawler says, "I don't either." So then they passed by a doobie, you know, smoke. And I said, "No, I don't smoke." Lawler goes, "I don't either." So that really kind of had us a bond back then because we did that. And he loved playing ball anyhow. So we always played softball or football or whatever on the weekends off sometimes. I just didn't play that one time when he broke his leg.
Yeah, fortunately. What is a guy doing playing tackle football when he's the top guy in Memphis?
You know what? It really put everybody in a really, really bad situation, especially Jared as the booker at the time, you know, and because Lawler was our top star. And we're trying great crowds with him and everything. And now for the first time, we're going to be left without him. So that's when Jared got a hold of me and said, "Jimmy, we're going to make you the hottest thing in Memphis, Tennessee. We're going to feed you all this talent because this is the first time we've been out the king. And, you know, we're on shaky ground right now. This might not make it. And so that really made me panic because before I did it, I was just behind the king chewing gum going, tell him, king, tell him, baby. Yeah, baby, it's beautiful, you know, and that was it. So I don't mind telling you, I was really, really, really scared the first appearance that we did on that show. And because of God, I guess, and because of everything else, it just all clicked and worked. And we were able to survive till he was able to come back.
And Jerry did not find it too funny when you had the line about what do you do with a horse that gets broken leg? You shoot him.
Oh my God. And you know what's so funny? When we were eating the other day in Memphis before we did the show, I said, King, you know that wasn't my line, don't you? He goes, I know it wasn't. He said, you know, I would never said that. I didn't even think about that line. I think Jarrett's, which was really a great line if you're going to draw money, but I didn't think of it. I got to admit that happened. But he said, no, I know you didn't. I said, I know. I said, well, you were so hot. He goes, well, how do you think I felt laying in the Baptist hospital? The TV show's going on. I said, well, we had to go on. You're still getting a paycheck coming in, you know. I said, we had to make it work. And I just said, you know, so, but when he broke my jaw, he hadn't thrown a punch for like 5 months in the hospital. So I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. So,
oh, come on.
Yeah.
No.
Did he ever fess up that he stiffed you, or
no, he always he said it was an accident. Of course, a lot of the guys said.
I know Memphis back in those days, as was a lot of territories, guys worked really stiff, and you're coming right off a hot angle, you know. I thought maybe, you know, King, you know, being King, you know, I'm gonna lay it in, you know. Did he ever confess to you, or was it just an accident?
Well, you know what? His punches always look so good. Anyhow, he didn't have to do it. You know, well, you know that. But here's the good thing that came out of that too. Right, I got a chance later on to do these angles with him, where I had the Briscoe brothers were in, Terry and Dory Funk were in, Nick Bockwinkel. Oh my gosh, Hulk Hogan came in there. I got to meet Hulk. I knew Hulk just by me still playing the band, but going to see wrestling and meet with Jerry in the back, you know. And like I said, I've never met all these big superstars and legends through the years that would come in, and I'd get to manage them going. Billy Superstar Graham, who I just talked to a week or so ago, you know, I managed him down there. Jesse the Body Ventura, me and Jesse fought the San Diego Chicken. So I tagged with him for that. So I don't believe that or not, but I'd never had a chance to do all that. So I guess something good came out of something bad.
And one of these days, King's got to fess up about that. King throws one of the best punches in the world. For him to break someone's jaw, he was mad.
Well, that's what you said. I don't want him to hit the other side, please.
Good part about it was it was such a punch. We're talking about it 30, 40 years later. So it obviously worked.
It's kind of like the Andy Kaufman thing. You know, everybody thought that was real until Jerry finally confessed in one of his books, I guess about a year ago, that how it was all set up, you know.
And how did the migration work? Jerry wanted you to come in, help him with an album and do the album. And then all of a sudden, then you start managing wrestlers. At what point did you decide I'm just going to do this and not do music?
Well, what happened originally, I started working with him and I started doing promotion. That's what I've always really loved, just doing promotion, being the hype man, going out, the Barnum and Bailey. I've always loved that. And so I started doing promotion, window cards and stuff. Then I started announcing. Then I started running some of the towns. And then that's when he came to me and said, look, it seemed like the people really love you. He said, let's shoot this angle on Monday night where I've got a match with Dundee. I want you to go to ringside. I'm going to give you a chain. And when I call for that chain, you'll know it. I want you to throw it to me in the ring. I can knock Dundee out. And I think we can go on TV and make some money out of you being in my corner and managing me. I said, okay. He didn't tell me when you throw a chain in the ring, you need to lob it up in the air, right? So when people can see it when it comes down. So I'm at ringside with Lance Russell. Here's the match. Here comes the time. He calls for the chain. Buddy, I throw it like 90 miles an hour, like a baseball. But lucky me, it hit the middle of the back rope, wrapped around it. All he had to do was reach back. Bam. 1, 2, 3. He wins. We go on TV that Saturday. Dundee comes out, rips a butthole in me. You know, Jimmy Hart's the biggest this music guy. He said, I've got a guy here named Pat Hutchinson. Pat, how many times have you wrestled this year? 36. How many matches have you won? None. Lawler, I challenge you right now. Jimmy Hart will not be able to be Pat Hutchinson, who's lost 36 matches Monday night at the Coliseum, extra added match. Lawler said, we'll accept that challenge. I'm going, oh my God. Now, Lawler, we go Monday. No rehearsal, no nothing. Lawler dresses me in a robe that's about 3 feet taller than what I am, dragging the ground, puts me in one of his Tarzan tights outfit that is way too big for me, that I have to keep pulling the strap back up, gives me a pair of I think a pair of boots that Buddy Cole had given him as a souvenir. And I think they were like 10 and a half. I wear 8, right? And so I did it. So I go to the ring. I look like I got flippers on my feet. The outfits keep falling off. The robe's too long. But I go. Jerry Jarrett wasn't there that night. When he saw the film of the thing, he said it looked like Jimmy Hart had 36 matches and been wrestling, because I loved the business so much and watched so much. And I learned I didn't want to throw a punch like the wrestlers. I didn't want to come off the second rope or third rope with an elbow like the wrestlers. If I got in the ring, I wanted, not every time, but trip sometimes going in. That's what I wanted people to realize. I couldn't probably do it anyhow. But that's why I've always wondered why managers want to be the wrestlers, because if you do, you're not going to be as good as them. And I just wanted to be Jimmy Hart. So I learned so much about it that it really helped me in the match, on what little match we had. And of course, we brought him over the corner. Lawler knocked him out so I could get the pin with the feet on the ropes and everything. So, but it just worked out for me. And like I said, I don't know what plan God has had for me, but he sure done a pretty good job of letting me do everything that I've loved. And then the music wise, doing the songs for, some big companies. I've been blessed.
Jimmy, had you been in the ring at all? I mean, have you done any practice or anything? Was that your first time in the ring?
First time in the ring, no working out. Lawler never took me anywhere and goes, here's how I want you to do this. I think really they hired me to be fired, if you don't know the truth. I think they thought he's going to be so bad we can get rid of him. A quick story too. I haven't told this a lot, maybe never. But while I was down there doing music for them, some music, Jerry Jarrett had called me and said, look, I want you to do a song on Jimmy Valiant. And he said, Jimmy says he can't sing or not, but I want you to do it. So I got Jimmy at my house, and I wrote this song called Son of a Gypsy, 3-chord progression. It's like a blues type thing, but up tempo, And so I brought Jimmy over, and I said, Jimmy, I'm going to bring you in. Here's what it is. He goes, we're going to kind of sing and talk the verses, but do it in your voice, that raspy voice. I came rolling into Memphis, TWA. Tell all the ladies, handsome Jimmy's on his way, because I'm a rocker and a roller, a little funky too. I was raised by the gypsies. I'm handsome Jimmy. I'm so cool. That's just one verse. I'm not going to do the other. But so he did it, took him in the studio, went down to the studio, cut it, came out good. Had to get everything on it, went and shot a video on it. The police loved us. I had a police escort taking us up there. We filmed it, borrowed a limousine from the limousine company because they love the wrestling. Let them do that. Went to the Orpheum Theater where Elvis used to go and do his private screenings for his movies. The people let me have that for nothing, zero. We had a low budget there. So I shot the video, everything. We debuted on TV. We sold almost 9,000 records in 2 weeks in Memphis, Tennessee on that song. And it really made you, because here's the thing about Valiant. When Valiant came in, he was a heel, but people really loved him. His interviews were like, Elvis Presley gave me this ring. Mick Jagger gave me this watch. It was all that gaga goo stuff that everybody loved. And so that's what happened on that particular thing. And we brought him in to do it. Well, then Lawler called me and he goes, did you do the song on Jimmy Valiant? I said, yeah. He said, why would you do that for? I said, well, Jerry Jarrett called it. He goes, well, Jerry Jarrett told me he didn't do it. And I said, well, I'm sorry. I'm not going to lie to you, Jerry. Now I'd been fired then too. Let me tell you here's a quick, oh my God, I'm jumping ahead. Here's what happened. When they hired me, Jerry Jarrett said, look, you're going to work for Lawler. Whatever he wants you to do, you do it. He believes in you. We're going to do this. I said, okay. So now this was before we did the match. Okay. This was before the big match took place. So I went in. And so that night I was supposed to be running Blytheville, Arkansas, promoter and everything, which I did go up and promote it. Well, that night it poured down. We didn't do that great. Okay. So Jerry blamed me and Lawler about doing the music. Lawler wasn't his main event there, so he wasn't in the town. Jerry, you know how the promotion thing goes, right? So after the show was over, Jerry Jarrett pulled me and goes, I heard you went to Blytheville. No, sir, I wasn't. He said, where were you? I said, I was doing the show with Jerry Lawler. And he goes, well, I know one day you're going to make me money, but you're fired. And I went, what? He goes, you're fired. I said, okay, well, thank you very much. I mean, it broke my heart, really, if you want to know about it. I mean, it tore me apart. So I left. I went home. Lawler called me. And he said, what happened? I said, he fired me. He goes, why? I said, Jerry, in the room 2 months before that, didn't he tell me, I work for you. Whatever you want me to do, I do it. He goes, yes, you did it. And And so Lawler called me. He said, no. He said, Jerry Jarrett said he wants people that love the wrestling business and do it. And I said, well, that's okay. So then Jerry must have forgot about it because that's when he called me to do the music. So when I do the music, I didn't give him the tape back. So I kept the tape, the sound and everything. So I kept it. Lawler goes, well, let me ask you this, Jimmy. Are you sure? He said, Jerry Jarrett swears up and down that you didn't do that you did it on your own. I said, his damn camera crew filmed it. I said, King, you think I'm going to call his son-in-law, the camp, Randy West, and go, Randy, will you send the camera crew? I just got fired, but can you send the camera crew down for me to do it? He goes, you're absolutely right. I said, Jerry, I've never lied to you. I'm not going to lie to him. I'm not going to lie to anybody. I said, if I never do this again, I said, matter of fact, I don't know if I want to be in this business. I said, this right here really hurts because I love this. These guys work so hard, the promoters, everybody. But I said, if this is the way a promoter's going to turn on you and do this, then I don't want to be around this. I don't really want it. So I hung up. So then Jerry called me. He said, look, this week we're going to go to Blywood and I want to talk to you about getting you back in the business. So that's why I said I didn't think they really wanted me to make it. So Lawler came up with that plan. I gave them the tapes back. I did the thing on Monday, but they kept me on because I didn't screw it up very bad, and I think that's what really happened on it. That was the other part of the story, but all that's true.
Wow. So you worked for Lawler, but you also but Jarrett had the ability to fire you at the same time.
Yeah, because Lawler worked for him. And he's the one that told me to do it. That's what I hate about it. I don't mind if somebody says, look, here's the way I've always felt about this business. If the promoter goes, Jimmy, tonight we're going to paint you yellow, I'll go buy the yellow paint, okay? If they say we're going to strap you, I'll go buy the strap. I'll try to get the thinnest strap I can so it won't hurt too bad, but I'll do whatever it takes to make it back. I remember being up in WWE when George Scott and Vince gave me $1,000 to go buy every flower in the flower shop so we could put a flower shop together for Adrian. Spur of the moment that night, live TV. So I went down. I got the them to bring me $1,000 worth of flowers in pots. I went and got the cinder blocks, set them up, put the boards across them to build them up high so we could have that behind us, just a spur of the moment deal that would look good. I've always been into that. Adrian, how are we going to lead into it? Well, what do you want to do, Jimmy? I said, why don't I do like Johnny Carson? Why don't I bring you on like, and here's adorable Adrian. Then you come out and do your thing. He goes, I like it. Because I never wanted to overdo my men. I've always felt like a manager is kind of the hood ornament of a Cadillac. And we're there, and it's important, but the wrestlers, they're the ones that are most important. When Vince gave me the megaphone to use, he brought this back from Japan, Vince did. And he goes, I want you to use it, but use it periodically the right time. Yes, sir. He didn't sit there and tell me don't do this or don't. Vince had always been great with me about do this or do that, and gave me carte blanche, I guess you could say. So I knew that if my guys were selling or getting heat, if they were selling, I try to get the crowd going. If they were on the bottom and getting their ass kicked, but if they were winning, I wasn't going to get them. You know what I mean, and take away from them. I've always believed they were important on my matches, whether it was a Honky Tonk Man, Cherry Funk, Dory Funk, Earthquake, Typhoon, anybody. What do y'all want to do? You let me know. I'm right here. Y'all put it together, and I'm here for whatever y'all need. Jimmy, on this spot, we need you. You got it, baby. And that's what I always took pride in doing, because your managers are there for the wrestlers. If you look at a lot of my interviews, I always stood, if I was kind of their same height, which was very rarely, but I'd always stand back behind one shoulder where I was peeking around a little bit, but to make them bigger than life, And I always worried about that because I wanted them to be bigger than life.
That's a rare trait. The people that get it really get it. That your ego is in the show. Your ego is not in yourself. And that's kind of hard to do sometimes, to put over everything else, sometimes at the expense of yourself. Vince McMahon is much the same way in his matches. He never did wrestling moves, and he was capable of doing wrestling moves. It was always just kind of a fist fight. Just like you said, when you wrestled as a manager, you wanted to wrestle as a manager, not as one of the boys, which is
you're
a
right.
completely different dynamic.
You're right. And look at Vince. How can you turn him down for anything? He's had his head shaved, been beat with kendo sticks, been in beer fights, everything in the world. I mean, been with belts and everything. And so if he goes out and does it, how can you turn him down?
That time that he was in the ring when Steve Austin pulled the gun and it had the pop flag come out.
Yeah.
And Vince used the bathroom on himself. Ron Simmons was in the back and he looked around and he goes, what are you guys going to say now? Because if Vince is willing to do that, he's not going to ask you to do anything that he's not willing to do himself.
No, I love Ron. Ron always tells it like it is. Y'all were so good together too. I love that. But like I said, I've never had anything planned for anything I was going to do in my life. It's just that, oh Lord above. I said, Jimmy, we're going to put you in music. Had that run. It was starting to tinker out a little bit, getting pretty tough. When you're trying to handle 6 or 7 people and you don't have a hit record, then you start playing the clubs again. Hey, the more you drink, the better we sound. Happy birthday to you, And so everything fell in the right time, right place. And then my dream came, because I've always loved this business. And when that phone call came through for Lawler, and then I'm down there doing TV, and then I get a phone call from Hillbilly Jim. And for Hillbilly worked for us, he was Harley Davidson. But for when they took him up New York, he was Hillbilly Jim. So he goes to New York. He calls me, goes, Jimmy. He goes, the WWF's been trying to get a hold of you about coming to New York. We got a show in 2 months called WrestleMania. Now, back then it was only payphones. So I remember calling home when I was in Louisville, called, back to my house and go, hey, have I had any phone calls yet? You had this. And they said, Vince McMahon called from, they said he called, it's a 203 area code. And I went, oh my God, that's a joke. That's probably Austin Idol want me to pick him up at the airport and give him a ride to TV. I didn't call the number back. So a week later, I'm in Evansville, Indiana. Go to use the payphone at the hotel outside before I did the matches, called home. Same thing. You got a phone call from George Scott, WWE. They said they wish you'd call him. Never called him back. But, so finally I get home. Hillbilly Jim calls me, goes, Jimmy, what are you doing? I said, oh, nothing much, just here. He goes, I said, our show was canceled this week because of snow. And he goes, the WWF's been trying to get a hold of you, and you won't call him back. And I said, I thought it was surreal. And he goes, well, look, Howard Finkel's fixing to call you in a minute. What happened? Howard Finkel had been watching all the tapes, and he saw me in Memphis, went to Vince with it, and he said, let's bring him in. And so that's how the whole thing got started. They said, sit by your phone. Vince is going to call you in 30 minutes. Vince called me. And of course, back then, and Jerry, you know this, all the territories were like, oh my God, this Vince McMahon's taking all the talent out of all the territories. This is going to crumble. This is going to fall. And there was a lot of heat over that. So I couldn't tell anybody about this phone call. So then Vince called me, got on the phone. He said, you know what? We'd like to have you up here. We like what you do. Would you be willing to come? And I said, yes, sir. He said, well, can you fly up here tomorrow? I'm like, oh, yes, sir, I can. But I've got to be back Saturday to do TV because Lawler is in Japan and Jerry Jarrett's on a hunting trip and I've got to run TV. So they gave me all the tapes. He goes, well, you know what? If you'll be that loyal to them, I know you'll be that loyal to me. Definitely get on a plane and come up tomorrow. Now, listen, we wasn't flying anywhere. I didn't have no frequent flyer mileage. So they put me on the phone with the damn lady that books the travel, right? She goes, Mr. Hart, would you like to fly? I forget what it was, Northwest or all these airlines are no longer with us now. I said, ma'am, whatever you put me on. She goes, well, which one do you have the most frequent flyer mileage on? I didn't want to tell her. I didn't have none, So I said, ma'am, I'm just happy to be going. You put me on what you want. And then once I get to the airport, I'll put my frequent flyer in. I'm trying to think as quick as I can. So whatever they put me on, I went there. George Scott picked me up, went there. The next day, I meet with Vince. And I said, Mr. McMahon, I know you've heard this before. I'll be on time. I'll be dependable. And I don't do any drugs or drink or whatever. And so he goes, well, that's good. That's a good start. And I said, yes, sir, it is. He said, well, I think we can do several things with you. He said, first of all, I definitely want you to manage. I think you can bring a lot of enthusiasm to some of our stars that we've got. And he said, I heard you do music too. And I said, yes, sir, I do some music. And everything. He said, well, we'll figure it out as we go along, but we got this big show, WrestleMania, coming up, and I want to make sure you've got some talent on that. I said, yes, sir, thank you. And he said, when can you start? And I said, I just need to start. I could start your next TV. And that was like a week away. And so that's how we did it. So then I went home and I told Plowboy Frazier, who I was managing, because I knew he would squeal like a pig, man. And Plowboy, he tells Lawler, Lawler, man, Jimmy Hart's leaving. He's going to join that music group back again. I told him I was joining music, right? The Gentrys. So Lawler calls me and goes, Jimmy, I heard you're leaving. I said, yeah, King. He said, why are you putting the band back together? I said, look, I'm not. I said, I'm fixing to go to the WWF, WWE now. I said, King, I don't want to lie to you, but I'm fixing to join go back to this other company and do this, go with it. And he goes, boy, Jared's going to be upset. And I said, well, I'm sorry. I don't have a contract. you know, because they didn't know contracts back then. It was all word of mouth. And so, Jerry Jarrett, so Lawler called me back and said, Jerry Jarrett, he said, he's suing you and suing Vince. I said, you know what? I'm going to sue him for impersonating a wrestling promoter, because I said, last week while you were gone snowing on the true. I said, last week when it was snowing on the ground, they made us drive all the way to Lexington, Kentucky. And when we got there, there was a sign on the door saying, wrestling's been postponed, which I knew it in the first place. And we drove all that way, 4 of us, me, the Dream Machine, the Iron Sheik, and I think Killer Carl Crew. We went all the way up there. Nobody notified us. Nobody did anything. And I said, that was the last straw for me, King. I'll always love you. I always do it. But I've got to go, you know. And that was it. Then they tried to get me to do a loser-leave town where I was going to be in the corner of Eddie Gilbert. And if he lost, I was going to lose. Hell, you know what happened that night? Forget it. I said, I'll do the interview from here saying I'll be there, but I'm not. Case closed. And so that was basically it.
Did Jarrett actually sue you?
I'm sorry?
Did Jerry Jarrett actually sue you?
Oh, shit. Heck no. Are you kidding me? No, I didn't have no contracts. And Jerry, I love Jerry. We've been friends forever. You know, when I'm in town, I always go by and see him. He's very, very smart. And I've always said this. I've had 2 of the greatest people in wrestling to help me, and that was Jerry Lawler and Hulk Hogan. I've had 2 promoters in my life. I've only had 2. That was Jerry Jarrett and Vince McMahon. And so, like I said, I've been blessed, you know. Then I went down to WCW. You know, I had my little run down there when Hulk went down there, and Eric was always very good to me on everything. Eric Bischoff was good to me, and on everything. He let me do music down there. Matter of fact, Eric, and I said this in my Hall of Fame speech too, Eric let me have the Saturday night show. We only had it 6 months before they closed, you know, Vince bought the territory, but I was able to do that for 6 months. And I loved doing it. It was great. Me, Tony Schiavone, and Terry Taylor jumped in on it. But it was my thing. And so we just put old angles together. Hell, one of the biggest things we drew on was we had, oh my God, Hacksaw Jim Duggan against the Cuban Assassin, right? And we did a 2.3 rating off that thing on a Saturday up against football. You know, I couldn't believe it. I was like, what? You know, everybody was so excited over it. And it was just crazy.
Jimmy, let's go back to Elvis now. You'd met Elvis. Was you aware that Elvis and Jerry was trying to set up a karate versus a wrestling match?
Well, you know, I heard that years ago through the grapevine. It's like some of Elvis's clique, you know, or Memphis Mafia, or whatever you want to call them, was trying to set some things up where Elvis was going to do, you know, come out, maybe get in shape and do a karate thing with Jerry. It was just kind of in the talks, you know, about trying to put something together like that. But I was definitely well aware of that. And that was before I even got in, you know, into the wrestling part of it. I was still doing music back then. But that's one of the stories Jerry and I had talked about before that, because of my connections over there and his connections over there.
Elvis, I saw an interview you did somewhere that he snuck into some of the buildings. Elvis was a wrestling fan, right?
He loved it. He loved all of it. You know, they would kind of get him in, and up in the top of the, because you can go up to the top of the Coliseum up there and kind of get up on those ramps they have and kind of watch everything from down there, you know. So he would kind of sneak over there and do that. You know, another wrestling fan, Jerry Lee Lewis, would come by the shows.
Elvis was really good friends, from what I understand anyway, from Sputnik, because I used to make road trip to Sputnik. Sputnik used to tell me stories about him and Elvis going out all the time. So that kind of all rings true, where he was such a huge fan that he became friends. He befriended a lot of the old time wrestlers around.
No, you're right. I love Sputnik. Let me tell you what, I love Sputnik Monroe. When I was doing music and I went to Sun Records, Knox and Sam Phillips, Knox Phillips from Sam's son, one day they called me and said, look, Sputnik needs to ride to Belleville, Arkansas. This is before I got wrestling, right? I didn't know anything about good guy, bad guy, heel, make face, whatever, right? So me and my friend Ronnie Thorne, we wore our black T-shirts. We rolled our sleeves up. We had our little saddle Oxfords on, our tight little blue jeans. This is going to look so good, man. So we took Sputnik over there. And on the way over, Sputnik goes, look, let's stop at this beer joint over here. I want to get a six-pack for after the show. I said, okay. I pull in. And it was all an African-American beer joint there, right? And I'm going, oh, my God. So Sputnik walks in, and he goes, who is the roughest mother, you know what, there? And everybody went, "You are Mr. Sputnik, you are." I mean, he loved him. And so we came out, and I'm going, "Oh my God." So then we got in the car, we went to the gig, we parked right out front. Sputnik goes to get dressed, he got a stick, we're sitting right there at ringside. And I kept wondering, during the damn match, I felt something kind of hit me and bumping up against me, and somebody threw a piece of gum and stuck in my damn hair, and I'm going, "What the heck? This is a rough place here." I didn't know, because when they saw us with Sputnik, they thought that people hated us to be with him. But we didn't know it. We're just eating our popcorn and drinking our drinks, and people bump around, nudge into us, and come up and give us a finger. And I'm going, "What is that all about?" I mean, I didn't know. I was so naive. Then we went out to the car, and then I realized what it was about. We had one flat tire, mud, big old piece of mud. It had been raining in, a big mud thing stuck all over the car. So we got the tire changed. The police helped us through the tire. So we finally got back. Until I got wrestling, he just smartened me up. I still didn't know what it meant, but I love Sputnik. He was great.
Sputnik did a lot. Sputnik did a lot to integrate wrestling audiences, right?
Yes, sir, he did. And I'll tell you what happened. And he told me this story. He said, "Jimmy," he said, "let me tell you what, we worked on a percentage." He said, "So I got with the wrestlers and I told them, look, we should be able to let everybody that comes in, because the more people that come in, the more money we make. So why should we exclude a certain race or certain religion or certain anything, And so that's how they finally broke the barrier down, to let everybody get in. And the guys were right, because it was all making money, Sure was.
And Sputnik was one of the big pushes behind it. He once got a ticket, right, for going to an all-black bar, and actually had to appear before court in Memphis, and refused to back down.
Oh yeah, you did, and it caused a lot of heat, but it got a lot of publicity out of it too. It's also at the same time Hutton was going around. He went to a county fair, to the rodeo, and this old guy was over there bragging about the rodeo. You probably heard that story. He's going, "I can beat any wrestler up," and Sputnik goes, "Oh yeah, man, Sputnik hit him." Then Sputnik goes, "Oh my God." He goes, "I know I'm in trouble." He told me, he said, "I knew I was in trouble then, Jimmy." I said, "Why?" He said, "Didn't even fudge him." And he hit me with a punch. He said, "Like to knock me in the 2 horse stables over." He said, so they built it up where he was going to fight the cowboy, right? And Sputnik went on TV and said, "He sucker punched me. He sucker punched me." He did one of those tricks, said, "What's on your shirt?" When I looked down, he hit me, which really didn't happen. He hit him. But Sputnik was great. I remember one time Sputnik was managing down there, and Sputnik said, "Jimmy Hart, trust me, I know you're managing, but remember this: age and experience shall overcome youth and enthusiasm." And I said, "Well, Mr. Sputnik, I'm working on both of them. I'm getting older, so I'm working on the age. And the more I'm around you, I'm working on the experience." He said, "That's a good question. That's a good answer." I said, "Thank you."
I was told, Jimmy, that cowboy that punched Sputnik, they were going to book him in a match with Sputnik. And then the cowboy ended up backing out because he thought he was being set up. And Sputnik was worried because he thought the cowboy would kill him.
Right. As my both of them were scared of each other. It was, it was right. But like I said, being with those guys back then, and going to the matches, and like I said, being with Jerry, and just, when you think about this, think of just in Memphis, here I'm breaking in, all of a sudden, handsome Jimmy Valiant, New York City, right? Joe LeDuc, Killer Carl Crook, Terry and Dory Funk, the Briscoe brothers, even though it was a one-time appearance, but being with them, being with Paul Ellering, which later on became a major star with the Road Warriors. The Iron Sheik, the Iron Sheik who came to Memphis and went to New York. I managed him there. King Kong Bundy down there. Jim the Animal Neidhart in Memphis before I went to New York. And I'm leaving out, and Austin Idol, of course, I love him, and just so many people. But my whole thing has just been, I kind of look in the mirror and go, did I really get paid for doing this? And it's been the way my life's been.
And don't forget the young man that came through with the long blonde hair, that Terry Bollea guy.
Oh my God. I talk with him so much, sometimes I leave him out of everything because we've been friends. People said, "How long have I known him?" We've been together for 43 years.
Wow.
And they said, "How has it lasted?" I said, "I've never borrowed money from him, and I've always told him the truth, how I feel. If he comes to me and asks me something, what do you think of this or that? I've always told him what I feel, whether I'm right or wrong. I always tell him, not that he's going to do it, but I've always told him the truth, and I've never borrowed not a nickel from him my whole life, and he'll tell you that."
I brought a bunch of kids one time. I'll tell you Hulk story.
Oh yeah, yes.
That's right. They were filming. I forget what it was. One of the Tough Enough or something like that. And he had all those stars around. Hulk was the only one out of all the stars. They all waved and were friendly. Hulk came over and met all these kids that I brought over from Bermuda. A lot of them had never been off the island, sat there and took pictures with all of them, but he was the only one that had done that. And he was by far the biggest star in the room. And it was just really cool. He made every kid there feel special on that trip. And they talk about that to this day. It was really cool what Hulk did.
He's always been so gracious with the kids. I remember when we would do the Make-A-Wishes things back in the day, he'd sit down with them, rub their arms. He goes, I've got to get some strength. I've got to get some of your power for my match coming out. You know, I've got to get this. This helps me out. This will really help me. And but he always took the time and still does. You know, we've done a lot of the boys and girls clubs this past year, and you know, he's different. He's special. He really is.
He's always been just fantastic to me. One of the first times I asked him for something, we need something for like a little YouTube show we were doing just for fun. We're doing WWE, and so when I'm asking him, he goes, "Whatever you need," and it was just that easy. He's always been so cool with around us and around everybody that I've brought around him.
Well, you know, it's so funny. I always tell everybody about the time I was sitting with Vince, and we were in I started to say Pensacola, Florida. That wasn't happening. I was in Poughkeepsie, New York. So we were in Poughkeepsie, New York, right? I'm sitting right before we go on. You know, we filmed 25 matches that one day. And so right before we went on, we were sitting there. And he said, you know, Jimmy, I'm looking for my next attraction. Hulk's the biggest name we have now. We have great people, but he was our draw. You know how the territory used to be. Everybody wasn't a superstar back then. You had your superstars, then you had your up-and-coming superstars. But you had to earn it to kind of get there, you know. So we were sitting there, and he goes, I'm looking for my next attraction. Somebody that can walk through any airport in the world, and even a casual wrestling fan will go, oh my God, look who it is, that barely watches TV. But they know he's got a look or certain presence that he is somebody that I can take him, give him a push for about 2 months, 2 or 3 months on TV. I can put them on Today Show, the Tonight Show, and they can hold their own with the host and not embarrass the company. Then I can give them a hell of a push, and they can make me $1 million in merchandise in the 1 year period. Hulk had it, The Rock had it, Stone Cold had it, John Cena had it, you know. And it's just hard to find those people that have that special something that people relate to, you know. And there's other people. I'm just talking about those particular ones right there for WWE. You know, Dusty Rhodes had something special in him, you know, with his interviews and everything. The Undertaker with that look and that entrance and just everything. It's just people like, oh my gosh, The Undertaker. Triple H, the way he looked and the way he'd come out in the song, you know, and everything. And then when he got up there and he looked at her and did the water out of the mouth, it was just something special about all these guys, and they just gravitate you. You know, Shawn Michaels with a super kick back then. One super kick, he won the match. That's all he did was one. And especially the match with him and Rick, you know, when they did the Ric Flair thing, when that camera shot showed Shawn going, I'm sorry, I love you. You know, what a great moment. For me it was, you know, but I remember all those things. You know, I watch TV every time TV's on, I watch it. You know, I watch Raw, I watch SmackDown, I watch the NXT kids, you know. So
Jimmy, you have a special friendship with Hulk, and how did that come about? And I know you know you guys met originally in Memphis, and then you continued your friendship in New York. When you went to New York for the WrestleMania I, did you guys automatically bond again, or how did that trust? Because you know Terry being what he is, he gets taken advantage of by so many, and not only fans but guys in the business. And for him to rely on somebody and have the trust like he does in you is special. And how did that bond begin?
Well, originally what happened in Memphis, the first time I met him, I was doing the music. Lawler brought me down there before I went to play at the Ramada Inn. You know, the more you drink, the more we sound. Hey, 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 you know. So I stopped by there before I went down there. We didn't start till 9, so the matches were early. And one night in the ring, he goes, Jimmy, you see that big, I'm looking through the little mesh screen in the back with Lawler. He goes, you see that big guy in the ring? I said, yeah. His name's Terry Bollea. What do you think? I said, man, he looks big. He looks impressive. So he said, this guy just asked me to do would I like to manage him on the road? Like, in other words, getting bookings and everything else, I'd give 10%. I said, you're going to do it, aren't you? And he goes, trust me, he'll never make a dime in this business. And I went, what? Now I remember that every time I tell Jerry that, he goes, I didn't tell you that. I said, of course you did. But so I met him back then, didn't know him that well. Then we met back in New York. And he goes, oh, I thought you were coming in to manage me. And I said, no, I'm coming in to be, heel manager. I've got King Kong Bundy, who I had in Memphis, and Jim Neidhart on the first WrestleMania. To this day, the first WrestleMania and WrestleMania 3 are the things that I cherish forever, because I was on the first WrestleMania, which a lot of guys can't say they were. And I had King Kong Bundy against S.D. Jones. And I had Greg Valentine against, it was supposed to be Tito, but we had Junkyard Dog on that. We shoot an angle. So that was always a thrill for me to be part of that. But then WrestleMania 3, of course, those 3 big matches. But we were up there. We didn't travel a lot together because babyface heel, but we bonded up. I'd go to his house and stuff and do all the little parties with him and everything and help set him up. And then we cut a wrestling album together, the Wrestling Boot Band. And we did it. So we've always bonded doing stuff. And then he'd take me on a lot of the trips that he'd go on. He'd say, well, I want Jimmy Hart to be with me for this, because he knew I didn't drink, I didn't do the drugs, and I didn't like to be around any of that stuff that was doing it. And I'd always kind of spot the people that I wish somebody could have done it for Elvis. If somebody done it for Elvis, he'd still be alive. If they had real people around him saying, look, Elvis, you're gaining too much weight. You don't look healthy. You can't, but they were afraid they would get fired and lose their paycheck, and that's why Elvis is dead today. But with Huck, we'd always sit and talk about a certain thing. What do you think, blah, 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 and try to make it better, or just, whatever he thought to do, that's what he did.
And Jimmy, you're still working with him now, right? With the bar there in Tampa. Does he come down regularly? How is Hulk doing now? I know he doesn't do a lot of media and stuff, but how's Hulk doing now?
Well, he's doing a lot better. He's, still after 12 back surgeries and hips and knees, he's doing so much better. He's been taking this therapy every week, and it's been really improving him more and more. So he can get up and get about pretty good now. Still looks good, Always got the hair, always got the tan, but upper body unbelievable. And so he always worries about his lower legs. I got to work my legs today. Work my legs. I said, oh, please. And so I said, but
as Hulk says, it's an upper body business.
Right, I know it. It is, and he always looks the part. And great interviews. Still can do an interview like the drop of a hat, and knows what to say, when to say it. And he's such a magnet. People love him no matter where we go. It's just like whoa, whoa, whoa. It's crazy, and it's so funny. But we go down. I go to this little bar every now and then and help him. Because we want me to do karaoke there as a guest karaoke guy. So I'll probably do that pretty soon for him, on whatever I can do for him to help him. And when WWE calls, we go running for them. We've been on some of those special shows. We went to Saudi Arabia twice. We went over there. That was a great experience. We went there for that. And then we do side projects together still. And, like I said, I've just been blessed to be associated with the people I've been associated with. It's been crazy.
Jimmy, how was WrestleMania I? Like when you got to the building, when you got to the garden, you got Liberace there, you got Muhammad Ali there. What was the feel at WrestleMania I? Did you realize then that this was a seminal moment in wrestling history?
Well, it was such a shock to me, because you forget I came from Memphis, Tennessee. You know what I mean? Like Andy Kaufman would say. So I'm up there. I'm just happy to be there, whether it lasted. And then when a lot of them told me, they said, Jimmy, what if it only lasts 1 week or 2 weeks that you're up before they let you go? And I said, well, probably the best 2 weeks I've ever had. So I went for that, and I walk into Madison. Now I'm with Greg Valentine. Greg Valentine saved my life. I didn't know anything about the New York thing. I'm like, what? But I rode with Greg everywhere. He took me under his wing, and it was just great. And I knew King Kong Bundy from Memphis, so I had him on the show. So I felt kind of in with everybody, and so I had the Iron Sheik there too. But here's what happened. I go in, and I was just amazed. I look at the arena, and I'm going, now I really realize what it's really like to finally make it in this business, just something that is so spectacular. And I go in, I look at everything, then I'm going the back. I found my little corner. I didn't want to overdo it and say too much to anybody about anything, even though I've been there about 6 or 7 weeks before that doing the TVs. And everybody was great, really. But then when I see Liberace, and I'm going, whoa. And Dick Clark's there, whoa. Matter of fact, I had this sounds corny, I had my Gentry album, my first Gentry album, and I got him to sign it. I've got an album signed, our album with Dick Clark on it at home. So I got him to sign it. So I got him to back of my bag.
Did
I'm
he
sorry?
remember? Did he remember you from the Gentrys? From a?
Oh my God, he remembered the Gentrys. Probably not me personally, but as the group, the Gentrys, he remembers everything. He remembered the show we were on. He said, the show y'all did, you were on with Roy Orbison, and we were. When I first saw Roy Orbison, I'm like, oh my God, Roy Orbison, oh my God. But we did the show where they filmed 2 shows every 2 weeks, you know. So, but going back to the other, so now I go in, there's Liberace, there's Mr. T, there's Billy Martin, big baseball fan.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm like, oh my God. I mean, it was just unbelievable. Then I'm going, okay, I hadn't got a lot to do on these matches, but I just got to remember what I am doing. And then, buddy, we hit that audience in Madison Square Garden. And oh my gosh, if you look at the tapes of them now, it is spectacular. The people are just so up in the, I mean, it's just unbelievable. And like I said, I wanted to hurry up and do our matches so I could get back to watch the main event. And so we had monitors back there. So I got to watch all that with Cyndi Lauper and Lou and everybody, and just Mr. T and Paul Orndorff. I love Paul and Piper. You know, we did Legends House together. I didn't know, I was with Piper a lot, but I didn't know him that well until we did the show Legends House with everybody. And I got to love him then. He was so real and so, I mean, crazy. But I don't mean to be jumping off the bandwagon here. But like I said, the more we talk, the more I realize, man, I have done a lot of stuff, haven't I? Dadgum.
Just
So,
a few things.
I guess it's better to be lucky than to be good, I guess. So, but just that night was so spectacular. And I don't think I really realized it until now. Can you believe this is WrestleMania 38 coming up? So I was 38 years ago. I was on the first WrestleMania. 38 years.
It's amazing, Jimmy. You know, I was doing promotion at the time down here in Florida, as you remember, and but you know, some of the guys tell me how much WrestleMania has really progressed, not only from 1 to 38, but that first WrestleMania, John, guys were flying in that day, worked their match, and went out to LaGuardia and called an airplane and went back home that day. I mean,
Wow. No, you're right.
Both of it. Now it's what, 2 weeks long.
I know it. But you know what, too, Jerry? I meant to mention this while ago, too. This is true. With the tag teams we had, some of the heel tag teams I had back in Memphis, they would always, Lawler would always go, look, if we had some film, I'd like to show you how the Briscoe brothers work. Because he said, I want to tell you something. That night, the teams that we had, they said, go out and watch their matches, you know? And so that was a compliment to you and your brother. And I got to tell you this, when I managed them in Memphis, you will not believe it, JB. Y'all, here's what happened. They come to the ring. They probably had a few brewskis before they got there. And I'm going, oh, my God.
Like you got it.
But I know it probably was. But no, we had to get another one. I took y'all back to the hotel that night. But let me tell you, so I'm going to the ring. I'm a nervous wreck anyhow, to want to please them. So we get out there. But on that match, they had me strapped from the top of the ceiling in a little bungee cord with a harness around me because at the end of it, Lawler got 5 minutes with me. Now, so what I did, so they were on the ring apron, and his brother would run it, and he could lean over and push me where I'd go right across and go around in a big circle, right up the audience, over the people's heads. And I'm like, oh my God. I said, if I get out of this, I never want to do this again. But it turned out great, of course. But it was just, you didn't know what you were going to get when you had the Briscoes.
You think?
And I meant, oh my God.
That hadn't changed then, has it, John?
No, not at all. I never know what I'm going to get with the Briscoes.
Oh, hey, Jerry, here's a quick story. You probably remember this. And I was saying it for the right reason. And my feelings were hurt so bad. We go do a local TV show, me and Randy Savage. At one of the shows here, Jerry is the promoter down here for WWE. We go do him. And out of respect for, you know, to me, if you go on last, you're the main event, right or wrong?
Right.
We had a 2-segment thing, me and Randy. So I said, Randy comes in. I'm there early. I'm there. And I said, Jerry, listen, if you want me to go on first and make Randy the main event, I'd be more than happy to. He goes, Jimmy, listen, Randy goes on first because you'll never be as big as him. And I went, Jerry, I didn't say I wasn't big. That bothered me because he took the wrong impression. I said, I'd never be as big as Randy. I just meant out of respect from him, I don't mind going on first to build it up for him to come on. And after it's over, Jerry goes, no, I didn't mean it that way. And I said, I didn't either. Of course, Randy's big. I'm the one. Let me tell you, going back to that story, let me tell you what happened on that, if I may. I'm in Memphis, getting ready to catch a flight to leave. George Scott called me and said, look, we want Randy Savage. can you go by the studio and talk to him before you get on a plane and come up here? Because we were doing Madison Square Garden. I'd already been up there. And I said, well, you know, they don't like me very much over there, but I'll try to figure out a way to do it. Well, we need to talk to him. I said, okay. So at the time, Randy was selling Amway or Amshack or whatever those things were on the side, making money, right? So now I get off, I go and I call Mr. Coffee. He's at TV, live TV. I said, Mr. Coffee, Jimmy Hart. He said, do me a favor. I said, can you tell Randy I've got a buyer that wants to buy $500 worth of Amway? And he goes, okay, I'll get him. I'll tell him to call you. So Randy jumps on the phone. He calls me before they go on. He goes, oh yeah, what's going on? I said, listen, Randy, if you want to bury me, go ahead. But I'm going to tell you the truth. I just talked to George Scott, and they like you so much, they want you to call them to see if you would like to come into New York. Is this a shoot? I said, I swear. He goes, okay, I'm going to meet you after TV over on Summer Avenue by the gym. I said, okay, so my flight wasn't like 4 o'clock anyhow. So Randy comes all the way over there after it's over. He gets in the car. He makes me get out of the car and pats me down like I've got a wire on me or something. I'm going, what are you doing? He goes, let's see if you're taping this. I said, oh my God. So now I get back in the front seat. He gets to the back. Okay, tell me what the scoop is. I said, look, George Scott called me. They love your tapes. They'd like to bring you. He said, you think they would bring Lanny? And I said, because he goes, you know, if I leave here, you know, he won't be nothing anymore. And I went, I said, Randy, all I know is my job. They saw your tape. They love you. They think there's a place for you up there. He goes, what about Liz? Because he just, you know, and I said, I don't know. I said, Randy, all I'm asking you, I don't have a wire on me. I don't have a tape on me. And I'm just doing this for you. So I'm glad we met, but here's the number right here. They're expecting you to call him. So Randy called him. The next thing you know, I'm picking him up in the airport up there. He took a Greyhound bus up there. Wow. They took a bus up there because they didn't want to be seen flying on planes or stuff. Incognito, he had a ball hat on, him, Lanny, and Liz. I pick them up. So that's when we shot the angle about everybody's going to be Randy's manager. And at the last, you know, they come out and make Liz his manager and got a place for Lanny too. So that's how that really worked. It sure did.
So wait a minute. You got in the front seat. He got in the back to talk to you.
Yeah, he got in the back seat. He thought I was wearing a wire, and he made me sit in the front where he was behind me. Searched the car, searched me for a wire on me like I'm really going to take the thing. And I'm going, Randy, I'm doing this because he asked me to do it. I work for the company, and they just love you. And they saw your tapes, and they want you. Howard Finkel would look at all those tapes, you know. So that's what happened. Sure did.
And when you first went to WWE, did you first start with Jim Johnston doing music? You know, you wrote some terrific music, you know, from Shawn Michaels, Sexy Boy, to the Honky Tonk Man, to the Bounty. Did you first start working with Jim when he first got up there?
No, Jimmy was in charge of all the music, which does a great job, you know. And so I didn't even know him. I didn't know anything about the music. So what happened? Dave Wolf came to me at WrestleMania, who was managing Cyndi Lauper at the time. So he goes, look, I know you were in the Gentrys. He said, I'm trying to work a deal to cut a wrestling album. I'd like for you to have a song to go on it. Have you got anything? I said, well, I got this little demo called Eat Your Heart Out, Rick Springfield. I sent it to him. He called back. He goes, that's a hit. That's a hit song. Right now, Rick Springfield's hot. He goes, that's a great hit song. He said, I want to cut it on you. I said, okay, great. So I went up there and we cut it with Cyndi Lauper. She sang backup on it. And what's the guy that did Hang On, Sloopy, Hoopy, Hang On? God, I can't think of his name now. But he did Hang On, Sloopy. He was a major star, so he produced the album on us. Who?
The McCoys was the band.
Yeah, he was in the McCoys, but I can't think of his name. But I'm sorry, I got this. I'm knocking this coal out one day. But so he sang on that, and we had it, and it was going to be one of the singles, so we put it on the album. He loved it, and then when the next album came out, I had 3 songs on there, and so I was just happy to be part of it. So then Vince came and said, look, I want you to do some of these. I like a variety. He loved Jimmy. Jimmy did great stuff, but he said, I want to have a variety on it. And I said, look, my stuff's more the comical type songs, you know, like the Mountie. So we first did the Mountie thing. I went for Jock, quick story on Jock. He goes, all right, let me hear it. I go, you know, I'm the Mountie. I'm happy. I'm gay. I'm free. And he goes, wait a minute. And I said, no, that means happy. I mean, you're from France over there. Happy. Oh, okay. So we did that. And then of course we did Shawn Michaels. And Shawn, when I first did Shawn Michaels song, he had his valet singing that, Sherry Martell. So then when she left, Vince wanted Sean's Michael voice on it. So I had to take, we were in Texas somewhere. So I had to book a studio, take Sean in up there to do it. So they sent me the tape from New York. So I went in there and overdubbed his voice on it. And of course, Sean goes, I can't sing, I can't do this. I said, this is going to be great. He went in, knocked it out, maybe 1 or 2 takes, but we didn't have a girl singing backup on it like I had down there. So I had to sing the backups, and I tripled my voice 3 times going, sexy boy, sexy boy. So we tripled that 3 times to make it sound like a girl. So that's me really singing the girl's part on it. But, you know, that song's had over 3 million Spotify plays on that particular song after all these years. But Sean, wow. Later on, they wanted Sean to change his music, but I love you, Sean. Sean goes, no, I want to keep the same song I came in with. And he did, buddy. So, and then we did the $1 Million Man song. I got Ted to sing that. We did the Road Warriors. I got Hawk to put on Whoa, What a Rush on the front of that song. And of course, here's Dusty. You know how Dusty is. So Dusty goes, look, Vince came to tell me he wanted you to cut a song on me. He said, I want you to cut one too, but this is what I want. Briscoe, you know how Dusty was very articulate about it. So I said, okay, what do you want, Dusty? He goes, well, I want some African-American girl singers. Okay, you got it. I wrote it down. He said, I want some horn players. Okay, I wrote it. I got it down. He said, you know, I'd like to have a cowbell on the front of that. Okay, all right, cowbell on the front. I said, what else? He goes, write it about the common man. And I said, okay, write it about the common man, cowbell, African-American singers and horn players. I said, Dusty, why don't you just write it yourself? You know what you want. He laughed. So I went, put it together, brought it to him. He listened to it 3 times and he goes, I love it. I love it. And he gave me a big hug and we went with it. And I've always been so flattered on that song when he plays it, when he would go to the ring with it or play it on anything. I was just so flattered to have the American Dream, wrote a song for him. And then we wrote American Made when the Hulk left WWE. We didn't use the Eye of the Tiger or Real Americans. So down there, that's when we did American Made for him. So, and we went, you know, a lot more too, but Johnson was great. But we just made ours a little bit more cartoonish, or for like, if you're going to be a heel, I didn't want to write something that was happy or whatever. You know, we wrote something that would fit in with Ted DiBiase. So that was so important on everything. Rick Derringer was the guy.
You do Honky Tonk Man also?
Oh my God, Honky was great.
That was the best.
That's my all-time favorite there.
Well, you know what happened?
I love all that other music. Honky Tonk to me was just that was the best song there was.
We did everything. Honky sang all of it. We did everything to fit him. We did the 3 big ones. We did Honky Tonk Man song. We did a honky love, and you ain't nothing but a honky dog baby. And so it was just great. Honky was so special. I had him in Memphis as the kisser, the kiss gimmick down there, and the blonde bomber. But then he went to Pensacola, and I went to New York. And when he came in, we got somebody you're going to manage up there. I said, who? The Honky Tonk Man. I never even heard. I went, who? Honky Tonk Man. I went, okay. And then when he came in, I went, oh my God, it was just great. It was like a marriage made in heaven, really. We cut in Memphis. George Klein got us to do all of our videos at Elvis' place over there at Graceland. So it was just great. But Honky was so great. I mean, I love him. He's always been one of my favorites.
Jimmy, you just brought up something that in the course of your answer there that is just so unique to Jimmy Hart. You most managers with WWE or WWF at the time had one guy that they managed, but you had a whole stable of. You were one of the original guys that had a whole stable. You walked out with 4 or 5 times a night, and you were what some of the managers kind of took offense to it and said, Jimmy, you shouldn't be doing it. How's that story?
I'm going to tell you a real story here, but I'm not going to use the names of everybody because I love all of them, and I don't want anybody to go out, oh, Jimmy Hart said this or said that. You know how the internet is and everything else. And so, but here's what happened. When I first came up there, I didn't mind going out 3 or 4 times a night. But I guess a lot of the managers have been used to going to the ring, taking their jackets from the managers and going back and getting on the and going back home while the matches were still going on, unless they were asked to stay at ringside. And so they said, Jimmy, you get knocked around in every match and beat up on every match. And he said, you keep going out, you won't have any heat here before it's over. And you'll be gone in 3 or 4 months. And I said, well, look, I like going out. That's what I did in Memphis. I'd go out 3 or 4 times a night. And I think if you're going to be on TV with them, you need to be at ringside with them, whether they win or lose, you know. It's not about win or losing to me. It's being part of the package. So when they came to me to do it, I still wanted to go out every time they asked me to. If Vince asked me to go out for this person, and I was flattered they put me with that many people, you know. So I'd go out with them, and I'd come back, I just put freeze and shine on my hair, fix my hair back up. It got messed up. Paul Mitchell. And then I'd change my jackets like I was a new character going back out. But I thought it got a lot of heat. Hey, I just got beat the heck out of this match. I'd come back. Oh, man, like the Energized Bunny, we can't kill this guy. No matter what we do, we can't get rid of him. He's like a pimple on prom night, you know. No matter how much makeup you put on, you just can't get rid of it, right? Oh, my God. So I go back out. But it worked for me. Now when you see all the videos and stuff on our network, you know, I'm out on about everything. And you didn't make any extra money for doing it, but it's just something I wanted to do, be part of my team, to be part of whatever they wanted to do with me. And I remember a quick story about Pat. I love Pat. Pat was great. Pat loved singing karaoke. He'd come down to the beach bar all the time and do karaoke. But one night, Pat came to me and he goes, look, he said, Vince wants you to do something with Dino Bravo. He's going to put you with Dino Bravo. And I said, oh, wow. And I didn't mean it a while. I didn't want to, but I said, well, let me think about it, because I wanted to think to get him a right gimmick in my mind, what I thought would work, because there's a lot of pressure. So Pat came to me an hour later and goes, Vince is really disappointed in you. Then what disappointed in me? He goes, he acted like you didn't want to be with Dino. And I'm, what? I said, no. I just like, oh, wow, let me think on it. He goes, okay, I'll go tell him that. I said, oh, my God, Pat, please tell him. Oh, my God, you know, I'm thrilled. So then that's when I found this old back of a wrestling magazine. There was a thing about how you build your muscles with that muscle guy. You remember Hercules or Atlas? I think it was Atlas. So underneath it, there was this circus type thing. Guy had the big wristbands on for weights up here and up here, a big giant belt going around his waist because they were claiming Dino was the world's strongest man, right? So I'd hold that up, hold the belt up. I built him a cape and we bleached his hair. I don't know why I've always liked to bleach the hair. So we bleached the hair. Hey, so we bleached Paul Ellery's hair, we bleached his hair. So now we did that. So we got him up there and we made him the world's strongest man. So then we did the music for him. Then I had my jackets made with the Florida Leafs on them to be like him. And that's when we shot that major angle with Earthquake being way up in the stands up there, and me making the challenge. Anybody in the audience that think they can beat Dino Bravo, you know, get on his back and let him do push-ups. Come on down. And that's when we did the thing where we saw big Earthquake come down, boom, boom, boom. And we shot that big angle. That's when we turned on the Ultimate Warrior, and it took it from there. But I love Dino, but I had so much fun, got to create his outfit that we use with a cape, the hair, the armbands going up, and the big thing around his waist. So it worked good. And then Pat comes back. He goes, you know, I was ribbing you on that. I said, I didn't know if you were or not. I didn't want to take a chance on it.
Of course he was.
Oh, yeah, right. Oh, my God.
Hey, Jimmy, what happened with What's that, Jerry?
I said I was just going to bring up. Go ahead, John, and I'll bring up Adrian.
I was going to ask you about Dino Bravo before you move on.
I want to hear the story about adorable Adrian Adonis. How that came about.
Okay.
Jimmy, first, the bench press with Dino Bravo. I've never heard the whole backstory. Did people think he was going to make that bench press when he was going to be the world's strongest man? When Jesse Ventura pulled it off of him?
Oh, yeah. You know what? I don't know what the people really thought one way or another, but I know the big thing with us is when he actually came down there to get on his all fours to do the push-ups, when we did the thing with Earthquake. And then that's when the Warrior came out to do his thing. And that's when we had a major program against him. It was good. On the bench press thing, I really can't tell you. I really don't remember. I remember us doing it, but I don't remember too much about what we were trying to do on it, you know?
Yeah, I think the story was he thought he could do it. And for, you know, whatever reason, you know, you're going for basically a world record. And, you know, he didn't get it. And then Jesse pulled it off of him.
Yes. Let me tell you what happened. I'm sorry, I'm going to suck on this lemon drop here. My voice is getting kind of hoarse. But look, here's what happened. We went out and we had it going. So we had a backup. If you can do it, great. If you can't do it, you know, then we'll the tip of the hill thing. Oh, you know, I'll pull my nard, you know, whatever. So that we had a backup just in case on it. But I don't think he was going to be able to do it anyhow, because that was a lot of weight. But it was one of those things that happened that you kind of build up through the years, and everybody kind of adds a little story to it, you know, makes it a tall tale.
Right. So the adorable Adonis.
Well, we get to TV, and we're doing a show called Tuesday Night Titans. And we get there, and I forget the gentleman who used to work for Vince that was on all of our TV production stuff. God, I wish I could think of his name, but he was there for the show that we were doing. When he came in, he goes, we came in and brought us in. He goes, Adrian, you and Jimmy come in my office. We thought, oh my God, what have we done now? So we go in. He goes, Adrian, we've had such a great run with you and done it, but I think I've got an idea, and only one person I know that can pull this up. That's Vince's greatest line. I'll tell you in a minute about Dusty. There's only one person that can make this work, and that's you. Hulk Hogan can't pull it off. Ric Flair can't pull it off, but only you. Okay. He goes, we want to make you adorable Adrian Adonis. We want you to come out of the closet. We're going to bleach your hair. We're going to put these pink tights on you, pink everything. And Jimmy, you're going to be with him and make your stuff real flashy too. Okay. And that's how we did it. And I said, look, Vince, I said, I remember when Gorgeous George did this years ago. He had a helper that go around the ring to spray the ring with a can. I said, can I go out and buy some of those spray cans that you can use a spray can on them? I'll paint it gold. He goes, yeah, it's a great idea. So that's how we'd go out and I sprayed the ring first and all the turnbuckles and everything, put a little perfume on it. So we did it. And that's how we did the flower shop when we got into the flower shop to make it. So that's how we shot the whole thing. And this guy, he comes up to Vince and he goes, Vince, what's the content? He was pretty head writer on the thing. Not writer, because we used nothing was scripted back then. I mean, everything was just done periodically. You know, we didn't have script writers or nothing. And he goes, what's the concept of that? And Vince goes, the concept is I want to do it. I can't think of that guy's name, but so me and Adrian got back to the back. Went, whoa, you heard that? Let's make it work. So we got the pink tights and everything. They carried the flower in his mouth. Did the flower pit, flower shop, and did everything because Adrian, for his size, could work, brother.
Without a doubt, he could go.
Let me tell you one last story of this too. I remember he was late for a gig that we had one time later on, and Chief Stay Strong was there. And Adrian comes in and goes, Chief, I'm sorry. I know I'm late. But let me tell you what happened. I'm leaving California. He said, I'm leaving California out there. And he said, you won't believe what happened. He said, a flying saucer came across the thing and landed behind the hills, and they blocked everything off. And that's why we were late. They wouldn't let us through it. He goes, Adrian, that's such a great story. I'm not going to find you. I'm not even going to put it down, and make sure that, and keep that to ourselves. So it sure did. I'll never will forget that. Unbelievable.
One more song story. Did the rap is crap?
Oh my God!
Did you
Yes.
you do that?
I'm sorry.
Was that you that got that?
Oh yeah. Here's what happened. Down in WCW, we had Kurt Hennig, we had Rotundo, we had a couple of. I can't think of the other kids.
Barry and Kendall.
Yeah, Barry and Kendall. But all of them are great workers. Would you agree?
Or Barry and Bobby. Barry and Bobby, maybe. Bobby Duncan Jr.
Yeah, but everybody, I forget, whatever we had, they were all great workers. So I went to Eric and I said, Eric, look, I've got an idea. Kurt loves to sing. I think I'm writing this song.
Jimmy, I don't mean to cut you off, but I've seen Kurt get up on John Anderson's concert so many times. John Anderson almost called security on him. He would get up and sing, and John Anderson go, "Oh, everybody, Mr. Perfect, Kurt Hennig," and then Kurt would get up again. "Ah, everybody, Mr. Perfect, Kurt Hennig." About the fourth time he'd get up and be like, "Oh, come on."
He loved that. Yes, he was great, and I loved him. So I said, look, I'm writing the song. We're going to fight. There was a rap group out of New Orleans that we had a big match against. I can't think of I can't think of the rap group's name now, but I'll think of it later. Big name down. Who?
Insane Clown Posse?
No, it wasn't. No, I love those guys too. No, it wasn't Insane Clown Posse. They were out of Detroit. This was a rap group that had done a lot of stuff, big, a lot of time music, but I'll think of it later, hopefully. Hey, Paulie, my friend Paulie said, Paulie, look up that rap group out of New Orleans. Try to find it if you can. All right, so here's what happened. So now I write this song. I said, Eric, I think if we put all four of these guys together, we got 2 mixed tags. We've got 4 individual singles that give them exposure. And he said, I'm writing this song called Rap is Crap. He goes, Rap is Crap? I said, yeah. So I wrote it, and I brought Kurt into the studio, and he knocked it out and did it. They gave me the camera crew. I went and shot a video up in Nashville on it, and part of it in Las Vegas, and we had all this Rap is Crap stuff, put it out, and I'll be damned, it got over. I couldn't believe it. So this company had called about putting it out for a single. But here was what's weird about Turner, TBS and TNT. They owned all of my songs down there, right? We own the writers, me and my writer, but they own the publisher. The publisher controls what they want to do with the songs. So we had all that down there. So when Vince bought the catalog, he didn't buy the writers or publisher. So that's why when you see a lot of the work up there, whether it's Jeff Jarrett's song or Dusty Rhodes on all those tapes, you hear just feed in music on it, just incidental music. You don't hear anything on it that I wrote, but they still own everything down there. They can use it whenever they want to, but they own everything. So what happened, we go in, we do Rap is Crap, we put it out. So then this company wants to put a single out on it, right? I thought, oh my God, we got a single. This is unbelievable. And they started playing it in Nashville, but Turner and them didn't want to put it out as a single for whatever reason, so that died like that. But they did a great match. They had all these matches with this, I can't think of this Dead Gum group. It's on the tip of my tongue. But so that's how that all took place. But he loved it. He loved singing. He loved doing that more than anything, man. He sure did.
That group was so entertaining, singing that Rap is Crap. It was such a fun, Kurt, you had some great, Barry Windham and Kurt Hennig, Bobby Dodd, all these guys in there. It was just so entertaining.
Well, they let us do it. Larry let us film it for one of the pay-per-view things. So I brought him out on one of the paper. I think it was the night that Huck fought Goldberg. And I think earlier in that show, we had a musical concert with that on there. And the people loved it. But I loved about it just because all four of them were individual great wrestlers.
Yeah.
They were just awesome. And it just made sense to me. But that's the story of that. But I love Kurt. Kurt's great. Was great, man. Awesome.
Hey, Jimmy, one more thing for, I know we're running long, but I got to ask you about Andy Kaufman.
Oh, my gosh.
I was watching a video this morning, getting ready for this interview, where you and Andy were, okay, 1, 2, 3, go. And you'd go and Andy wouldn't go. And then you would stop and Andy would go. You guys worked so well together. How was it working with Andy Kaufman?
He was unbelievable. Here's what happened. He was a little strange, but unbelievable. Lawler shot the angle with him first. Then they put me with him because Andy had this common routine that he'd do at ringside before he started. And, it's like going to church. And around 12 o'clock, everybody's stomach starts growling. We're hungry. I hope the preacher helps ends it at 12 noon, right or wrong. So now Andy would go to the matches. He'd start jumping around, doing this comedian stuff, at the ringside, and then finally Lawler would go, we got to put somebody with him. Get it. See, I want you to be with him. And when I give you the Iggy, make sure he gets his butt in the ring. Okay, you got it. So now we do everything. And so they put me with Andy. So we do this, have a great run going on. So like anything else, it runs its course. So now Jerry wants us to have a beef against each other. So we started off by having a handicap match against Jerry. So we get together. I'm going, all right, Andy, blah, 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 blah. You get in that corner. I'll get in. When I count to 3, we'll both charge you. 1, 2, 3. This was live at the Coliseum. So 1, 2, 3, I charge. I think Andy's coming, but I'm not looking over. Lawler grabs me, gives me up. Hey, Andy, look. Boom, pile driver. Oh, my God. I crawl back over to my corner. What happened? What's wrong with you? I yell at you and you're over there looking at your watch. Come on. I'll do it one more time. And Lawler's over the corner waiting for it. 1, 2, 3. I run back. I look. Andy's supposed to be going. He's not going either. Lawler turns me around. Boom, boom. I'm going, oh, my God. I go back. This time, get me once, get me twice, but not 3 times. So now, this time we start running together. I run part way with him. I stop, back up. Andy goes over. He gets the pile driver. Now that starts our big feud. We both get beat up. Boom, 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 boom. Piled on top of each other, the whole thing. So now on live TV on Saturday morning, we go out there. Now, Andy had a thing. I don't know if you saw the little scrimmage fight with us or not. But
yeah, I did.
Okay.
I watched it this morning. It's so entertaining.
It's all about swinging and everything because I couldn't touch him because he had this $1 million bond that he can't get hurt on the show, but it's TV company, right? On the show that he was doing. So we couldn't do these, I couldn't hit him or do anything. I'm like, oh God. So we just went out there and had a pull apart slinging contest, falling, flipping, flopping and everything. But we came back, we drew a hell of a crowd on that Monday night of me and him fighting each other, 11,000 people. So, it was great. It turned out great. It really did. But I was so blessed to be with him. He'd come to my house and stay. Matter of fact, I had a pair of his sunglasses we did on that one of the shows that we did about memorabilia. But he was just great. I remember one time after the show, his favorite wrestler was Nature Boy Buddy Rogers, and he loved Elvis. We'd have to go by Elvis's house at night, sit out there for 30 minutes just to watch the cars come by Elvis's, and they get out right on the wall with chalk. And he got it, took it, and went out with chalk and wrote on the big door, Andy Kaufman. I said, Andy, the rain's going to wash that off. He said, I don't care. I just want to know I did it. But we do that. Then we go eat at Denny's. And usually we go to Denny's, the people would recognize, they'd come up and go, Jimmy Hart, I want to get your autograph. Andy, I want yours too. And he'd go, well, you ain't get mine until I get my food. I said, but you're getting mine now. Then Andy goes, what did you do? And I said, Andy, who knows what they might do to our food back there if you don't sign it? You make them unhappy. He goes, okay, ma'am, come back. So he'd do the autograph for him. But he was great. He was great. I loved it. One time in Louisville, we did a match with him up there after we did the angle in Memphis where he was taken to the hospital. So Lawler did almost the same finish about 6 months later. Andy wouldn't get out of the ring. So I go to the back. Lawler goes, where's Andy? I said, he's still laying in the ring. People around there beating on the apron and stuff. Go, get up, And Lawler goes, you go tell him that if he doesn't get in the ring in 2 minutes, I'm coming back out. And he said, the pile driver he gets this time will be like no other pile driver he's ever felt in his life. I went back, I leaned over him, Andy, you got to get, Lawler just told me, it's going to be like the pile driver you've never had in your life. Boy, he got right up from it. Okay, I'm up. We came to the back. Lawler said, don't ever, people see the same angle and it'll kill our angle we did before, So, but he was great. He really was.
It was such a great time in history. I mean, that angle was one of the best things in television. The moment on Letterman was in the top 25 when TV Guide did the top 25 moments in television history. And that moment was one of them with Andy Kaufman. It was that big a deal. It was so entertaining.
Well, I was at Lawler's house when they called about them not using Andy. Andy went up there to be used, maybe something Vince Sr. wanted to do with it, but he didn't want to use, stars on anything. So when we brought him back, he made the phone call down to Lawler, and Lawler goes, what do you think? He said, you think I went, oh my God, Taxi, are you kidding me? And so that's how it all came about. So we were thrilled to have him in there, and it did great business for us. It's unbelievable. Like I said, you know what? When I look back, when I do stuff like this for you guys, which I hardly ever do a lot of because I'm so scared of what I do on a podcast because they make everything sensational. You know what I mean? Yeah. This guy did this to make people tune into them. I know why they do it, but it's nowhere what you really say, but then people get offended by it. So that's why when Jerry called me about doing that, I said, for y'all too, I'd love to do it because this is great. But it was just, I don't want to get caught in the catch-22. Yeah. It's like I said about when they said, who should be on Mount Rushmore Hall of Fame? I said, I'm just saying what Stone Cold said. On Busted Open, Stone Cold said Ric Flair and Hulk Hogan had to be the first two on there. So that's what I'm going by. So that way he gets the heat, not me. I love Stone Cold. But my main thing, I just looking back what y'all are talking about, I'm just kind of thinking here too. And I'm so sorry I got this deep throat thing. I got 3 shots today to knock it out by me stepping in the damn big puddle of water at Lawler's show this weekend. But like I said, this has been great. Just talking about Andy Kaufman, talking about Elvis, talking about all the people that I've been able to be associated with. Even Ric Flair, I got to manage Rick on one thing in Memphis show that never took place. But then when I went to New York, Bobby Heenan was managing Rick, but one time Bobby had a pinched nerve in his neck. So for a week, I got to manage Ric Flair against Hogan, and we did all these trips together, right? And it's the biggest thrill of my life, being in that ring, listening to Ric Flair come out to all the boos in me, going in the ring, and then hearing Hulk come out to Eye of the Tiger, and us standing in the middle of that ring. It was such a great moment for me. I don't know how it was for them, but for me, it was unbelievable. Here's Rick, here's Hulk, and here's Jimmy Hart from Memphis, Tennessee, only a high school education, raised by his mother. It's just, like I said before, it's been a blessing. It really has.
Well, Jimmy, I'm gonna put you on the spot, and I always hate this. Somebody asks you the question, "Who's your favorite wrestler? What's your favorite match of all time?" But I'm gonna put you on the spot by asking you this question: your Mount Rushmore of entry music. They don't have to be what you've written, but preferably what you've written. What are your 4 favorite entry music songs that you've heard out there?
Well, off the top of my head, it would have to be, of course. I look at people who drew the most money, off their entrance, but their entrance songs were part of it. I felt like The Undertaker would have to be on there because even though it's just simple, bell, boom, boom, still, you got to go with that. You got to go with Triple H, drew a heck of a lot of money. And I love that song that he came out to the ring too, you know, and I thought that was great. Also, I was looking at something here about one of my assistants that helps me on my stuff. And those two things really, you know, I love.
He's above everything. I agree.
And of course, drawing the most money too. I always think about Hulk Hogan, you know, with the Real American, you know, that drew a heck of a lot of money. But then I'd have to, maybe if I can put one of mine on there, it'd have to be Sexy Boy by Shawn Michaels. I loved them all, but if the fans will let me put one on there, and I'll put it last, Shawn Michaels, you know. But all of them are so good. But Johnson was so great doing all this up there, and I was just blessed for them to come out and just ask me to be part and do anything, you know.
Well, Jimmy, you've had such an incredible career, and you're still going, which is awesome. But
don't jinx me, please. Oh my God.
But you've always been such a pleasant person to be around, a good friend. Thank you so much for coming on the show. And when Jerry told me that we're going to get you, it was I was thrilled to death. I thought, this is awesome. You get Jimmy Hart, the mouth of the South, on the show.
Well, you know, I love you. You know, Jerry Lawler told me something. What was the name of the show we did for you for WWE? When you had
Legends with JBL.
Right. I had the honor of doing that. And Jerry told me, he called me the next day and said, JBL was on the plane with me and Vince, and I was going back. Y'all took the plane back somewhere. He said, JBL said, I couldn't get Jimmy Hart to say anything bad about anybody.
That's right.
That's Jimmy. He just, you know, it's just, but that's the way I really feel. I mean, you know, everybody has opinions of everybody, you know that. And I'm sure a lot of people I'm probably disappointed people myself, not intentionally, of course, but I just want to be one of the guys that can make it through this whole world of this wrestling business and music and everything, and just try to do the right thing for everybody that we can do it for, because life is just too dead gum short, you know. And so I just you know, that's just me, you know, and everything else. Like I said, I've been so blessed to be with WWF, WWE, of course, you know, blessed to be with Eric. Did a great thing for me down there working with WCW. And let me tell the story too. That was never planned to leave the WWE. What happened? Huck and I left to go do Thunder in Paradise. While we were doing Thunder in Paradise down there doing the TV show for 26 weeks, that's when Eric and Flair and them came through and said, hey, look, we need Huck. Is there a possibility of maybe you jumping over and trying to get this thing going? Because I think Ted Turner had said, look, we got one more shot of doing this. That's when we used that pay-per-view, and we called our contacts in, Mr. T and everybody at Shaq came in for us and everything to try to make that thing work. And it was so successful pay-per-view. That's where they realized they could make something out of that. But it was never a pre-planned doing it, you know? So, you know, it's just one of those things. We took time off because I managed all the heels up there, everybody for so long. Then I ended up going with Huck. Well, after Huck, there was nobody to manage, you know. The Ultimate Warrior was the hottest babyface, and he didn't need a manager, you know. And I sure couldn't run to the ring as fast as he ran to the ring. So that was going to leave me out. But look, I love y'all. Jerry, you know how I feel about you and your brother. Yeah, I've been so blessed even to be associated with y'all and all the experience you have. And JBL, what can I say, baby? I love you so much.
Thank you so much, Jimmy, for sharing your time and your background and your history today. It's been a hell of a road, man. Let's keep it going.
Well, I'm sorry about being a little hoarse and having to drink this mountain water on here. It's not liquor. So thank y'all for bearing with me. I love you.